name is Sherry Dunning. I'm the Executive Director at the Saco River Corridor Commission. The commission was formed by the Saco River Corridor Act. That was passed in 1973 by the Maine State Legislature. And the act not only defined what the commission would be and how it would operate, but it gave some of the very basic standards by which we would protect the river. The commission does a lot of work with not very many staff members. We have 2 full-time and 3 part-time or seasonal staffers. We also run that large water quality testing program with 43 sites up and down the corridor where we go and test. So it's a lot going on in a very small office. And the commission itself is formed with representatives from every town along the corridor, meaning we have 40 people available to give input from their communities on the river and its protection. We do protect up to 1,000 feet away from the river, but the corridor itself is primarily 500 feet. It only extends up to 1,000 feet where there's extensive floodplain next to the river. If you build too close to the river, or if you build the wrong types of development near the river, you're really impacting the water quality, because this buffer that we're standing in right now, this distance from the river, if it doesn't have adequate vegetation, the water from more developed areas will sluice right into the river without essentially filtration. So one of the things that the Saco River Corridor Commission really focuses on is maintaining this vegetated buffer up and down the lengths of the Saco, which dramatically helps water quality. So really we're concerned with protecting the public health, safety, and the quality of life along the river corridor. The entire watershed of the Saco is about 1,700 square miles, and a good 830 of those are in Maine. So it starts in New Hampshire. It has this big broad swath of land that it drains from, but the true source of the Saco River is a little water body called Saco Lake, which is in Crawford Notch in the White Mountains of New Hampshire. And from there, it does start snaking its way, very serpentine fashion, through New Hampshire. It enters in Fryeburg and travels through or beside 20 municipalities in Maine, all the way up to Saco Biddeford. The official end of it is the Rock Jetty in Saco. It's the sole source of water for Saco and Biddeford. So just to give you an idea, there's 20,000 people in Saco, 22,000 in Biddeford. You also have several other municipalities that draw some or all of their water from the Saco. So it's quite a number of people. I'd estimate it's over 50,000 at the very least that draw their water directly from the Saco. One thing that our name might lead one to misunderstand is that we don't concern ourselves only with the Saco River. There are 2 major tributaries, the Ossipee and the Little Ossipee. The Little Ossipee River is actually longer than the Ossipee, at least in Maine. So we add additional river miles that we protect. And this includes like Lake Arrowhead, which is part of the Little Ossipee flowage. The river runs right through it. So all of that land area is under the supervision of the commission. The Saco River Corridor Commission really tries to integrate its efforts with that of other permitting and enforcement agencies. So when we have a concern or just want to consult, we reach out to our contacts at DEP. The DEP follows their process with their standards, and we apply our process with our standards. We don't necessarily need to communicate on every issue that comes up, but certainly if we see a problem that we suspect they might be interested in, we communicate to them and vice versa. When our volunteers go out to the river and collect samples, they're doing so in a very systematic way, collecting the samples very carefully to make sure we don't contaminate them. And so whatever's in the river water, we end up getting a value for that. E. coli is a contaminant. It's essentially an indicator of fecal contamination from either human or animal sources. And some of the E. coli values that came back this year from multiple sites were higher than the state thresholds for safety. One of the effects of climate change over time is creating more intensive rainfall events. So we might get the same amount of rain, but we're getting it in shorter bursts. So instead of having a day-long rainy day, as Maine is very prone to, you might have a sudden thunderstorm that showers down inches of rain in a matter of an hour. And that doesn't absorb into the ground as easily. It'll run off faster. And when it does, it takes those E. coli contaminants and sediment runoff. Fertilizers or bacteria get washed right into the water a lot faster. So I'd say that's one of the major impacts of climate change on the river. One of the biggest dangers to the health of the river is really excessive development that is incompatible with protection of the natural resources and water quality that we have here. We have point source pollution, invasive plants that have begun to populate places near the river that we're concerned about. Warming temperatures are a concern. So again, the vegetated buffer, if it has trees, we are effectively shading parts of the river during parts of the day, and that helps to keep the water temperatures cool and thus the water quality higher. We are also potentially more prone to longer droughts, which can really impact the water quality due to reduced oxygen levels. When it comes to quality, there's definitely a huge impact from potential effects of climate change. That's one of the reasons that the Saco River Corridor Commission does participate in some of the regional collaborations that have developed to address the effects of climate change. One of the major things that I want to work on as the executive director is really outreach, getting people to know about the Commission's work, where the corridor is, and if they live in the corridor, to know that they can turn to us for questions about what they are planning to do with their properties, what would be best for the river, and where they can turn for more information. I think that the Commission office is an excellent clearinghouse for information on the best practices of how to live near and with the river for the best interest of the river and for us. As part of our outreach efforts, we may be looking for volunteers, not only for the water quality program, but also some of our office tasks are very routine and could use a little bit of help to help free up staff time for other tasks. Our office is located at 81 Maple Street in Cornish. It is open Monday through Thursday, typical business hours. We encourage anyone that has questions to drop in. The phone number is 207-625-8123. The website is srcc-maine.org. The Commission office is an excellent clearinghouse for information on the best practices of how to live near and with the river. I grew up in northeastern Massachusetts, so not from Maine. I moved up here to attend Unity College to take on an environmental degree. And after that, I did go and live and work in other places, but I always wanted to come back to Maine. Getting to work for the Saco River Corridor Commission is a real treat because it covers so much of the state that I really love, and it's so impactful. The Saco River Corridor Act has been in place protecting the river for 50 years now. People that enacted it had such foresight that the river would need additional protection from what was to come. Our ongoing development and increase in population in Maine, it's great that so many people want to live here, but we have to be careful to protect the things that we love, including this river.